My name is Terri Paddock. I get to share post-show Q&As, including this one. I'm very excited. Let me introduce you, please save your claps to the end, to Jessica Clot, who's the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Southwark Playhouse. Nicky Allpress, who is the director of this amazing production. But you probably can't keep the name straight, can you? So, Killian Doyle, Emmet... Coyle, bugger.
Yeah, that's all right.
Killian Coyle, Emmet Byrne, Dan Skinner, and Rachelle Diedericks.
Diedericks, yes, close. Yeah.
Did I get it wrong?
Yeah, no, you got it right.
Now you can clap. Very good. So we have got about 25 minutes or so, and I'm going to get the ball rolling talking to these fine people up here. But it's much more interesting with the Q&As if you get involved too. And all I ask is that you put your hands up first. To get you used to putting your hands up, I'm going to start with some audience questions for them, and we can find out a little bit about them as well. Shall we do that? Audience, who of you are on social media? Anybody? Anybody on social media? Very good. I've already lost my signs. Oh, there we are. All right. Anybody on social media, please feel free to take pictures, video of the Q&A, help spread the word about the show. We are using the cryptic hashtag, the Walworth Farce. The Twitter handle, this is SWK Play. Is it the same on Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all the same. It's quite straightforward. But we're also using a hashtag to differentiate between venues, which we'll speak about in a moment. So this is SWK Play Elephant. So make sure that you know which Southwark Playhouse you're coming to. I mentioned my name is Terri Paddock. If you are on Twitter, feel free to tag me and stuff, and I will also share. I've pinned a tweet as well. Some of the folks on the stage with me are also on that platform, so you can get their handles and give them a shout out when they each say something incredibly interesting. So that's good. Okay. Audience, you guys missed it, but we've got a lot of locals. Hands up again, who's local? Hands up, anybody live off or near the Walworth Road? Very good. Okay, any Irish? Any Irish who live off the Walworth Road? And again, how many of you have been to Southwark Playhouse in one of their other homes before? Hey, loving it. Who did something like this during lockdown, put on plays in their No? And who knows they've already got a question they want to ask? Okay, so everyone's shy, but you're going to get warmed up, so please start thinking about the questions. I'm going to first start with Jessica. This is, as we know, you've got lots of locals here, but I want to say a huge congratulations to everyone involved here at Southwark Playhouse, as well as with the company, in getting this brilliant new venue open. It's very, very exciting. As the locals know, you also have a brilliant two-auditoria theatre on Newington Causeway, which continues. What you may not know is that they're not stopping with these three. They've also got another plan for London Bridge, which I think is opening in 2026. Is that right? Something like that?
That's
planning permission.
Yes.
Far in the future. But there's a lot happening. What has it been like for you here, you as the Marketing and Communications Manager, deeply embedded in the team? What's it been like opening this? Is it very exciting?
I mean, it's been an absolutely amazing time to be part of the team, because it's a very important time in our theatre's history, because it's not every day that you open a new venue and a new building. And not just that, but we're actually expanding, because a lot of the times when a theatre changes, it's probably shutting down one building and opening another, but we're actually expanding. So we've got Southwark Playhouse Borough, as Terri mentioned, and then what you're sat in now, Southwark Playhouse Elephant. So we can technically have 3 productions running all at the same time in different spaces, and there's just a ton of different plays and musicals, an ever-changing programme that you'll both be able to come and visit.
So really, theatregoers, if you live locally, where do you need to go besides Southwark Playhouse? You just follow them around. And this is a fantastic choice for the first production here. As we've said, it's so local. It is this venue that we're sat in is at the bottom of the Walworth Road. We're mentioning the Walworth Road so much, and Elephant and Castle, and we all can relate to running into zombies and stuff on the street around here. So it's brilliant. But I also think, it's fantastic, because I was looking back and I was realizing that Enda Walsh wrote this play in 2006. which was the same year that this theatre was first conceived, Southwark Playhouse.
Yes, so it's been a long time in the making, and then finally we've made it. We're opened.
Very good. And how are you getting the word out as the marketing manager about that you've got all this going on and you've got a new venue you want people to visit?
Yes, I mean, we've done a whole mix of traditional marketing and digital marketing, but with this in particular, because we want to engage with Elephant and Castle and the local area, we've really been trying to reach out to local communities, spread the word. I mean, literally door-to-door flyering of the flats above and around everywhere, just so people know that we're your local theatre. Come and visit us and come for a drink at the bar. You don't necessarily need a ticket for the show. You can come and do both, essentially.
Has anyone got one of Jessica's flyers? Anyone? Ah,
Anyone
okay, but the
not
word of
seen
mouth
it?
is working. But so yeah, you guys are now part of the word of mouth. Now then, let me turn to you guys. So, Nicky, you also have been involved in Southwark Playhouse before moving into this new venue. What is it like working for Southwark? Before we get to this place, what do you like about Southwark Playhouse as a concept?
I love working for Southwark. I think they're a really nice, small, it's very intimate, family vibe. It's not like a big theatre or production company. A small group of people do a lot of work, and it's just really nice. You know, you can talk to everybody you need to. All the departments are close at hand. I love working with Southwark, and I think everyone sort of mucks in and does everything. We discovered during our tech rehearsal, you can have Chris, who's the artistic director, at any given point, if no one else is available, we'll be up on ladder, changing the fire escape signs so that they're less bright, so that you guys have got a less distracting blackout. Everyone mucks in. It's a really lovely place to work.
And it seems to me that it must be quite an honour to be asked to direct the first full production in this new venue.
Yeah, I suppose it is. We had a really nice time, exactly this time last year, doing Romeo and Juliet at the old building, which was their Southwark School Shakespeare, annual Shakespeare, that they share with all the local schools free of charge during the day. And that's funded by selling tickets for the evening shows. And I set that in the 1980s. It was a two-tone. I don't know if anyone saw it, but it was a very musical Romeo and Juliet, and it did really well. And we kind of got on really well. And Chris said, do you want to perhaps open a new venue with a play?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And now again, before we start speaking specifically about the Walworth Farce cast, have any of you opened a theatre before?
No.
What is it like coming to a place that's completely new and you've got all the facilities? Any anecdotes about
Well, we had a few issues with lights and stuff like that. And just in terms of people not knowing about buttons.
Okay.
So I think the other day we were waiting to go into the second half, and we lost control of the house lights. Someone had turned them off in the bar, and everyone was running around going, "What's going on?" But just sort of little teething, and I was sat down here just before this show started today, and then the sound was going, and the feedback just started to go like that. And I'm thinking, and I can't do anything. Obviously, I'm sat in the chair being Dinny. And I'm just thinking, I wonder if anyone will deal with that, or how they'll deal with it. But but that's what happens.
It's been nice to have the run of the place. That we've been here for the entire rehearsal process.
Yeah.
Like, we were upstairs. There's a participation space / studio space, rehearsal space. So we've been here for all of our rehearsals, and there was no company in before us. So we actually had an entire week on this set before even getting tech, so light, sound, anything. So we kind of had a really nice, gentle process, and kind of had to run the place, which is a luxury. Usually you're up against it, and one company's getting out while you're crossing, stepping on toes, crossing over. There's a whole load of crossover, but with this we just kind of, the space was ours.
Amazing.
There's no one else here. So
I'm noticing that Emmet, that you're stretching like as we're sat here, so we're going to come on to the physicality of this in a moment. But so this play by Enda Walsh, as I said, written in 2006. Enda Walsh, of course, one of Ireland's great contemporary playwrights. Had any of you been very familiar with his work and or this play before this production? nodding going on.
Yes.
Well,
yeah. Our, like Enda's one of the most prolific contemporary Irish writers. So there's a lot of his works have been staged in Ireland, in our National Theatre, in Galway, all over the place, really. So if you're in the arts and you're Irish, Enda Walsh, and you've seen Enda Walsh's work, yeah.
But I'm not Irish, but I knew it. All right, big reveal. But yeah, even I knew who Enda Walsh was. Not just through his plays, but through his films as well. He's made some absolutely cracking films. He's prolific as well. He just bangs it out one after the other. Yeah.
But had any of you read or performed or seen the Walworth Farce before?
Yes, saw it in 2016 when the Gleasons did it in the Olympia.
Yes, so father and two sons.
Playing a father and two sons in real life, playing a father and two sons in a play. So
I didn't see that one, but I saw the original Drury production, Edinburgh, and I directed another one of Enda's plays before, so I'm a big fan of his.
Which play did you direct before, Dinny?
Chat Room, with students, and I'd actually proposed the new electric ballroom to Chris here at Southwark once before, which has just had their press night tonight at the Gate Theatre.
In Ireland, they're on in Dublin at the moment.
Amazing. Rachelle, what about you? Had you seen or heard of the Walworth Farce before doing this?
No.
What did you think then when you first read the script? Kind of bonkers, huh?
Well, yeah, I thought it was really, really dark, and I was like, this is so sad. So it took me a minute to find the comedy, but like getting in the room was really fun to see these guys like literally play it out and maybe like, oh, okay, that's what it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not even English, so I didn't know a lot of like English or Irish playwrights. So yeah, it was a really nice discovery.
Yeah. Okay, audience, how are you feeling? Are you feeling warmed up yet? I'm looking for hands. Any hands? Yes! Now see, there we go. Okay, Nigel, first question to you.
Firstly, thank you very much. That was an incredible performance, and I haven't seen the play before, so that was a revelation. And it's very dark. I wanted to know about the physicality of performing that, because that was something else. I also loved the jumping with the wigs.
Yeah, so talk about the physicality, and we need to talk about the stretching as well. And you want to go for it?
Yeah.
Just always something wrong with me at all times. It's not new. No, I started acting in Galway, where Druid would have done originally, and he did a lot. I think Enda Walsh's, when he really came out, would have been done by Druid, so would have known it fairly well. And there's a lot of Galway has a real pedigree for physical theatre and stuff like that, so I would have Blue Raincoat and Michael Murphy, who would have directed the original for Druid, would have done workshops, so I would have heard second hand through him. According to Michael Murphy, half wrote the play. Leaves out what you will. So it was kind of half how I started was kind of physical theatre, and those kind of traditions. Like I didn't train, but there's a lot of people who'd gone to France and done Lecoq, and Michael Murphy is Lecoq, and that kind of stuff. So it would have been something that kind of, it was part of how I started learning to act. And there's a lot of stuff in this that's either very physical theatre, or where you're putting your focus, or slapstick, or like the grotesque stuff in the farce, like yeah.
So how do you stage it though? How much do you rehearse the physical element?
Well, you have to just take it literally one moment at a time. That's the only way you can do it, and you have to, you have to just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and then you have to know, having got that moment in you, you have to know what the next moment is. So you have to be thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of you, and you can only really do it successfully once the whole thing is completely in your body, not in your head. Because if you're thinking about where you're going next, you're in trouble. You can't have any thought process. You have to just go blindly be led round.
So it's like you develop the muscle memory
Yeah,
for
basically.
the physical.
And all of us have to have that in complete sync with each other. Like it's a real well-oiled machine. And
That's before you start acting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You have to
You've got to get the mechanics in.
It's a tricky play in that a lot of plays you do a lot of sitting around the table and talking about character and backstory and subtext and all of that. And here we have the similar amount of time to do a play where there was a whole other layer of physical slapstick, and this lot are just blow me away in that we would break it down and do it scene by scene, by chunk by chunk by chunk, but then none of it sticks, like Dan said, until you're running it all chronologically over and over again, and then it becomes muscle memory, and like Emmet said, and then once it's in your body,
Not thinking about
and
it.
you're not thinking about it anymore, then you can start, looking at that whole other layer of.
We had to break it down. It was like such bite size, but Enda's so good. He puts so much detail into his stage directions. Like there's a huge amount offered from the get-go from him. Not necessarily physicality instructions, but like you just get a very good sense of what those people are like in the farce, and what you need to do is try and play the truth of them as best as you can to a heightened degree. And also Dinny's always asking for bigger, faster, quicker, so you gotta think, you've got clues and breadcrumbs all the way through, and then it's about working with just layers. So starting with just basic blocking, where am I going, where am I going, what's happening in the scene, and then layering in subtext, what's happening, and that's a really like titrated, drawn out process. Like it took 2 weeks just to figure out the bare bones blocking of this entire beast.
But it's amazing that once it is all in the mechanics of it, then the other stuff starts to reveal itself. So you go, oh right, that's what that means. Okay, so that's what we've got to go over there because of that.
It's kind of the opposite to the way a lot of our process would normally work. I think wouldn't you agree?
Outside in rather
than
inside out. Usually you go inside first, and you think, but this is too much going on. You have to go.
And also, you guys couldn't really do anything with the script in your hand because they're holding 15 other things and juggling so many things.
So you said, Nicky, that took 2 weeks to get to that point. How much rehearsal time did you have overall?
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah. 4 weeks.
So it was really throughout tech as well, and all the way through the previews. For me personally, I was still finding all of the subtext stuff. Like you can't see the wood for the trees in this process till you've done it. Do you know what I mean? It's there's so much going on that once you can trust that, okay, I know my body knows now what's happening. Now I can figure out what's happening for him and what's just, and all of a sudden you start to find nuance and complexities that you can't really find in an academic way. You have to find it.
Right.
You have to journey through it to be able to discover it. And you're discovering it, I'm still discovering things today. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm still fixated on the fact that Emmet is just stretching the whole time.
Stretch position.
But there's
but in seriousness, so given how physical it is, do you have to do stuff to protect your bodies?
little long warm-ups before.
Fight calls every day. You run through all of the fights.
These
every
guys
day.
start at about
5:15.
5:15 for a
For
7:45 performance, doing physical warm-up, vocal warm-up, fight call, wig rehearsal, wig gymnastics rehearsal.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But just to reassure you, in case you're worried that we've damaged him, and that's why he's wriggling. He has done that since day one. It's,
the damage is emotional.
yeah, but you do a lot of, what do you do? What's your jiu-jitsu? No, is it jiu-jitsu?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You do.
I think they're just naturally fit. You're just looking after the body. There was a hand down here, I think, was it?
Yeah, I saw the Walworth Farce at the National Theatre 2006. I think I enjoyed this one more. I think partly it's a beautiful space to play it in, partly because there were 4 great performances, and partly it seems to me that it's more in the air now, the themes about needing ritual to get through life and wondering how much in public and private life, how much is acting and how much is real. And do you think those themes are more in the air, or is it just I've changed over the 16
It does
years?
seem weird, doesn't it, to do it after coming out of lockdown as well.
Yeah.
But yes, Nicky, do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, I was in preparation for this. I was having a quick read of what Enda said in the programme again, and he mentioned something like that. Do you think the audience interpretation would be different now we've lived through a trapped existence? I think that's a really interesting, interesting thing to notice. Actually, I don't know, because I think our version, Enda came to see, Enda was quite involved. He came halfway through the rehearsals, he came again to our dress rehearsal, he really liked it. We had a lot more sort of music and stuff, and I'm glad you like the set, because I think it's brilliant.
And this is by Anisha Fields, brilliant job.
Who did my set for Romeo and Juliet as well. I think she's a wonderful designer. But
did it just chime with you more now because of the associated themes that you joined a few dots yourself while watching it? Is that what happened?
Pressure's on.
No, he said the performances were wonderful.
The actors were better.
But actually, I remember seeing it for the first time and going, whoa, what just happened? And it takes you, it stayed with me for quite a while. And maybe now, then having seen it, like me, you just, the more you see this, the more you get to know the play, the more you realise it's a really clever, detailed piece of writing.
And another thing is that you don't, we rehearsed this for 4 weeks, or however long it was, 4 weeks, and you think you've got one thing, and then you put it in front of the audience, and you find out what you've actually got. And, it's only when you put it in front of a few audiences you go, oh, I think it's that. I think it's that play. And then you start performing that play. And it just takes on its own version of whatever it is you've made. It's a strange old moving beast.
Yeah, there was this great piece, I don't know if you wrote this, Jessica, but in one of the promotional, some of the promotional literature for this production, it's referred to as a prescient play of how history is moulded and twisted to entrench those in power. Do you agree with that?
Okay,
Yeah.
Especially at the moment.
When you look at politically and everything.
And you
like
could
it's-
make those links, couldn't you?
Yeah. And I was also reading some stuff around previous productions, and I'm going to direct this to the Irish on the panel. It was referred to, I think Sean Foley, who directed it before, referred to it as a satire on Irishness and Irish storytelling. Do you get that? You're both thinking about it.
Well, I think Enda says it's kind of about identity. Yeah. It definitely it uses, like the two-parters, like heavy use of cliche, and Irish cliche and Irishness, and like the songs in it, I have never really listened to, or I've heard even. It's not in any of my, but they're very like Bing Crosby singing. But I always it feels like also perception of Irishness and our own self-perception and how we sell ourselves, because once the farce ends, the reality is quite human and quite, it is bleak in this, but it's like it's kind of clichéless. It's a bit like there's violence and love, and it's very sentimental and stuff, but the clichés just disappear. And like they are Irish people, so he's like, look at it, this is how we lived, and the reality isn't that at all. Like they even there's even a lot of like the Waltons or macaroni and cheese.
This is definitely not the Waltons.
Definitely not. But they're very American things.
Wholesome. They're wholesome. That's the thing. It's like these wholesome tales of Ireland, and it's the twisted memories to keep yourself safe, essentially, and to keep a romantic view of how you've lived your life. And we all do that. I mean, I was telling stories down the pub and go, oh, you remember that? And these stories have twisted and got twisted and twisted, and where you become the hero of your own story, and the reality is probably far removed from
Yeah, and rural Ireland's big for that.
Yeah.
Like we're a nation of storytellers gathering around a fire in a pub, Guinnesses in hand, and that's
There's so many great lines about just what you're saying in the piece that really resonated with me too, such as the telling of the story. It helps me. The story is everything. I see your hand. Thank you. And what are we if not our stories? I thought that was great. Just before I come to him, I want to ask, did you feel, Dan, at all intimidated playing an Irishman next to two Irishmen?
Not remotely. Look
no.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I started, I mean, I was like, it was for about a week. I was like, oh fuck, excuse my language. But then I just thought, well, I this is how Dinny speaks, and that's it, and also I didn't have time to think about that. There's so much to do, so much to get and crack on with, and you just thought. Well, I thought, well, whatever comes out of Dinny's mouth is Dinny, and that's just what they'll have to have.
We as Irish people love nothing more than wheedling out an absolutely awful Irish accent. So we were waiting. I was certainly waiting, but no. What I'm saying is, it never came. It never came. So we never had the joy.
Listen to the end of the sentence.
And Rachelle, have you tried your Irish accent? Or have they given you? No. You could pick up some tips from these.
Yeah, I should learn on this actually. That's my next task.
Next task. Thank you for your patience.
All right. This kind of goes to the actors and the directors, I suppose. Just when you're doing like such big kind of over the top characters and you're playing characters as well, I suppose, how do you still kind of find the truth of it and like and not make it, I suppose, like a caricature and stuff? Even though you might have been trying to do that with some of the characters you were playing within, but how do you still kind of make it? Well, you were kind of talking about with the subtext earlier, but how do you still kind of connect to these are real people as well, instead of getting carried away with, I'm playing a lad playing girls and all this kind of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is really down to these guys' skills and craft, I'm just cheat and cast 4 brilliant actors and, that they do the rest. We never set out to try and let's do the dark version of this where we feel this or we're trying to do this or set out to do the Gleeson version, which was apparently just a barrel of laughs and no darkness at all, which I can't imagine. But we actually all agreed kind of from the start, let's just do Enda's play. And trust that the writing does the rest.
That's it. To answer your question, Frank, it's just all in the writing. Yeah, it's so clear. Like he's now Mrs. Cotter, or he's now, and it's very clear what has to happen, and then it's very clear who Blake himself is, and it's all in the writing. So you just have to. You have to do what's written, I think.
There's a level of commitment as well that's required when playing the farce and when playing those characters, because if you don't, we've had 20 years plus of torture, beatings and all sorts of horrible stuff. It's not even worth your imagination going into. So if you don't show up and nail it every day, the risk is you're going to get a cut or an absolute walloping. So there's the fear and the trauma kicks you into having to be on the ball. And then there's a level of innate proficiency at it then that comes from doing it for so long, but also getting it wrong, getting a beating, getting it wrong, getting a beating. That will make you really, really proficient at the thing. So that's something we tried to figure out as well. Like, where's the line? They can't be shit at this because they've been doing it for nearly 20 years. So but they don't have any context because they haven't been watching thousands of movies and doing loads of research. They've had a little bit of time engaging with some sort of TV shows when they're younger, or maybe there was a TV when they first came here that's been fecked out the window. But do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So does that answer your question?
I think it's a real actor's piece. I don't know if you're asking that as an actor yourself.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I wondered that. But it
No,
looked like Colin Farrell from here. There's,
feeling.
I look better up close.
That's a Cork man, you see that humour there. That's a Cork man there. That's a Cork man.
I feel an ambush now.
But actually, yeah. Sorry, you got. I think it's a real actor's play.
Yeah, it's
because you get to run the whole gamut of the highs and the lows, emotion. Enda's really romantic as well, as we discovered in rehearsal. Isn't he? He's really a romantic. So they get to have the boys have the violence, but ultimately it's a real actor's piece because in every single page the stakes are set out there for you, like the boys said. You know you're going to get a wallop, and Hayley learns very quickly how to toe that line.
And Rachelle, with Hayley, she's such an interesting character, especially coming into this world of three men in this very scary and menacing environment. Well, first of all, are you listening to what's going on during Act 1? And how do you prepare yourself to come on when they're in full flow?
Tell the truth.
I am on my 4th book currently. But the first, there's a point where Killian comes out.
I come out.
There. Yeah, he comes back and he does his little quick change, grabs a sip of water, and then I'm like, okay, put the book away, and then get my bag ready and get my Tesco's bag ready, and then I just do a little shake. But I normally listen to what the rhythm is.
Yeah.
Because once these guys get going, you can feel you guys very quickly and feel what's being received on here. So it's nice to just keep an ear out and go, okay, so this is what we're stepping into.
Yeah.
And I said to Nicky very early on, because she was like, you're going to be sat back there for the whole of Act 1. Are you happy with that? And I was like, I honestly don't mind that, because it feels like you're jumping onto a moving train. So how do you prepare for that?
I love that. Yeah. That's
just being ready there. But if I was there I've got to remember my lines, I think I'd go insane. So that's why the books.
Something we got to go. Okay, right. We are running out of time, but let's hear both questions and then we'll decide which we want to answer. We'll answer it. Raymond?
Well, what struck me was that apart from the physicality is the torrents of words that you had to learn. I mean, I wanted to ask, is this the kind of toughest job you've had?
The toughest job you've had.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, let's just hear this other one. It might be related.
I don't want to steal the question, but
No.
Just because it's such as a piece, it's so kind of location, not specific, but kind of your setting really kind of is within you, and it kind of really felt like both your bodies and your minds were fucking in this space kind of thing. And I wondered, as actors, how did you start to play with that idea and introduce that idea into your lives, and especially your man, how did you kind of explore that idea of you're the one who leaves and goes outside, and what that means to go outside and to feel a different space? And I don't know, something about the setting and where your bodies were and your minds were felt really kind of alive in you, and the idea of the door opening and closing had such huge stakes that I just wondered, as actors, what did it mean to? How did you explore that? And how did you kind of start?
Okay, so I just have to say, audience, you are a great audience.
Yeah.
Very intelligent questions. This actually relates to kind of my narrative arc for this discussion. So let's park his question. We'll come back to it because it's a great place to end. So first of all, torrent of words. How does this production rate in terms of difficulty?
It was touch and go. Yeah. No, it was fine. You sort of know, you knew, there was a few drop lines here and there through previews, but I mean, maybe even now. but it's again, it's like you have to know it all, because you have to. It's all written in rhythm, and it's just. And sometimes the things you say trigger other people to go and do something, or they might trigger sound or lights, and because it's something we've just had to drill, these, you know, it just goes into your body. But I mean, it was a task. It was a task.
It's a harder. I found it was a harder read than performance almost, because I think and said that at some point. Yeah. When I read it, I was like, oh Jesus, because it's
daunting.
Because all the lines are like Blake is Vera, Blake is Eileen, Sean is Saint, then Sean, Blake, then Blake.
On the page, it's
so it's madness to read, but actually once we got up and did it, actually it all went in real quick.
And the wigs are very important.
Yeah. So it's weird.
We weren't originally going to do wigs, were we? I mean,
no, we were always going to do wigs.
What are you talking about? Fucking never.
We always.
It's like the main part of this.
No. I mean, like in terms of like puppeting with wigs.
Thank
you.
Yeah, we did come up with that midway through.
We were always going to have the wigs, but we hadn't decided until probably week 2.5, 3, where we evolved and we were just trying to work out.
We did a whole day.
We did a whole day with you, didn't we?
Yeah, we did a wig track, just an entire day sitting with a pen and paper and in the space going like that stays there.
Molly and
Molly
Olivia,
as well,
our stage manager and assistant stage manager, who you could not do a play like this without. They were incredible.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of extra work as well, of like, just making sure that we. At any given moment, you could go to Molly like, "Where's the wig at this point?" and she'd just be like,
"She just knows."
There.
Yeah,
and like it's insane that she managed to store all of that up here.
Yeah, it's really useful, wasn't it? That
You're looking around for the wigs.
No, I look for Molly.
Oh, right.
She's usually hiding somewhere, just making everything work.
Okay, so we're going to finish in a minute, but just so you know, this is your warning. I'm going to ask each of you at the end, because the setting where we are, Elephant and Castle, this community theatre, is so important. I want each of you to end by saying what is your top tip for Elephant and Castle, or anything that you've discovered since coming to work here. But before we get to that, Emmet, can you answer his question about being in this world and the temptation to...
Yeah, and I think it kind of relates to your question as well, and kind of what was said previously. It's so practical, there's so many demands on it, that it kind of, you have to do the very practical layering of everything. And as you get more proficient at the juggle, then you can kind of go to the next layer. So, like, obviously, as Killian was saying, there's the farce, and then there's the normal story, and then you have to get good at that. And then once that happens, like, for me, as you were saying, it kind of coming in with the secret. So now I have to play the secret, and now and introduce the secret into the normal farce, and then the normal play of what's going wrong. And then, like, only more recently have I kind of been able to get proficient enough at that to now layer in the whole other play of where's Hayley and when's Hayley, and trying to connect with that in a real tangible, like, it's games within games. And because it's so demanding but like really, really enjoyable, it ends up being very practical and kind of drags you along. Like, the lines go in real quick, and it's actually, if you can hit the beats, it's actually not an easy play to do, but it just brings you along. Like, you don't have to sit down and dredge up emotion like in this quiet scene about something. When you arrive at an emotional scene, you're usually panting and sweating and like something's hurting, and like, so it's kind of easy, like, in a weird way, like, but also like you believe in it. It's like the writing's really good at times.
I recommend you do a
at times it's like
And do you think Sean could or will ever leave?
I think he dies of starvation.
You think he gets
Hayley calls the police?
Hayley's about to arrive with the police, obviously. And we'll stick with him through counselling for many years.
Oh, I love Hayley and Sean.
Yeah, they do have their happy.
Is that what indicates? Is that how he proves he's a romantic? That he sees them together?
I do. I mean, but Enda's definitely very romantic. That was a big part of his feedback to us, and we discussed changing the ending as well, in lots of different ways. So he encouraged it to be romantic.
Okay, folks, you've spent time here in SC1 and SC11. This is my home. This is my neighbourhood, so don't diss it. Dan, look at it. What have you discovered around here that you would recommend people check out?
Theo's.
The pizza, amazing.
The pizza
yeah.
and Theo's across the road.
Yeah.
Also, bargain value price.
Yeah.
Not too expensive, so
Very good
it's
pizza.
really good pizza.
Very good. Emmet, anything?
Guinness in Oberon is pretty good, which is just next door.
Run by an Irishman.
Or
Tato over there as well. And Guinness. Selection, every Irish person.
Sometimes I find my way around by the skyscrapers and I get lost. I'm like, where the fuck am I? And then I say, oh, there it is. And you're like 10-minute walk, so that's kind of weird.
Well, I'm from London, and for years I drove around Elephant and Castle, and they had the big pink shopping centre there. Are people sad that's gone? Or,
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it was a key part.
It was a key part.
I'm not round about how to
However,
there were some good shops in there. A lot of them have been rehoused
they've been
around
moved
Elephant Park.
to Castle Square, is it? Or,
At Castle Square and Elephant Park. Yeah.
But I mean, and there's a big hole in the middle of it now. But the whole of Elephant Castle looks like from what I see, it looks like it's really looking good.
Yeah,
now.
it's coming along, but we do miss bits of it. Rachelle, what have you discovered around here?
I know this is really basic, but Mercato.
Yeah.
Yay! Mercato Metropolitano.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
love
love
them.
that you can get like oysters and like chicken wings. It's a wide range of food.
I'm gonna, if you haven't already, I'm gonna tell each of you, you need to go down the Walworth Road to East Street Market.
East Street Market.
Locals, right? East Street Market for your fruit and veg. And also, along Elephant Park is Sayre Street, which is the street of restaurants and bars, which is really good. Really good. Okay, so Jessica, I want to end finally with you. Thank you for creating, you and your team, this brilliant new space and this community feel that we have here. How else can we get involved in the theatre? What else? Tell me about the wall upstairs.
So at the moment we have two venues, this lovely Elephant and Borough over the road. But Borough was always supposed to be a temporary building, but we've ended up being there for 10 years somehow. But our long-term plan is we want to move the Southwark Playhouse Borough near London Bridge. So we're working on a really big project, and it's £1 million project, in order to raise the funds to have our permanent home at London Bridge. So we'd have Elephant here at Elephant and Castle, and we'd have a London Bridge venue. So if you're interested, we have a £1 million wall, which is you can buy a little space on the wall out in the bar area, so you can see it every time you visit our theatre. And the donations range from £50 and to buy a segment. If you want to buy more segments, then you get a larger space and you can fill it with whatever you want. Your pet, an image, a photo, and a nice memory to someone, whatever you like.
Very nice. And we can also buy tickets to shows, can't we?
Yes,
so,
at both places.
So we've got lots of shows that you're already promoting. These are at the Borough venue, these ones I'm holding up?
Yes, so all of these ones, Sugarcoat, Brilliant Jerks, Macbeth and Winterval, are currently playing with Borough. And we have a constant lineup. We're always adding new shows on our website, so always just check back to see what the latest is.
Okay. And finally, do not forget, please, everyone, you now audience, you've been a really good audience, haven't they? Don't you think?
Yeah, brilliant.
So you are now ambassadors for the venue and the show. So please do spread the word about the show. This amazing company are here performing their guts out on stage every night until the 18th of March. So you can bring your friends and neighbours, come again. Yeah, that's good, isn't it? And for those of you who are on social media, after we give them a big clap, please can you get your phones out? We're going to do a budge up social media shot. Can you take a photo and share?
Could someone tweet what this gentleman said about it being better?
The International Theatre. Okay, brilliant. So please join me in thanking Rachelle and Dan and Emmet and Killian and Jessica.